What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarich, and if I sound frustrated, it's because I am, and we are on take 2 of the podcast recording. 20 minutes into the first episode, we realize the recording button, no, not on. But guess what? It's on this time, and we are ready to talk about the Acolyte, the new show on Disney+. I am not joined by my guy Adam Blevins today because we got a late recording, and this man is busy writing The Acolyte, House of the Dragon, The Boys, and so much more. So I am joined by co-host of the Comic Corner, Damon Gray. How you doing, Damon?
Time travel.
Rachel Leishman, our other wonderful guest today, co-host of the Cinema Sibs, Padro Pascal, one of the amazing writers at the Mary Sue and so many other places.
Here are my hats that you told me in the 20 minute version.
Wear of many hats. Wear of many hats.
I'm good. I saw the musical Tommy tonight. This is where I am at mentally.
We're doing good. We're having fun. Look, we are going to skip the what you watching segment today because we already went through it and it is late in the evening that we are recording.
And I saw Tommy.
I read comic books.
Rachel saw Tommy. I'm rewatching The Boys. Damon read comic books. That's the recap of what you watching. Make sure you're following the Agents of Fandom on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter. Agents of Fandom everywhere else. I promise as soon as we get to the Acolyte coverage that we'll get back to normal because we haven't already talked about that and aren't busy laughing through the stuff we've already done. And make sure you're also, because we need it, we are mentally ill and dejected and a little tipsy. And so hit the like button for us, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the Agents Fandom wherever you get your podcast. We got a lot of great stuff coming between the Acolyte breakdowns, Damon stuff with AF and Fat Thor over at the Comic Corner. And we also have cooking a little House of the Dragon after show coming as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Subscribe wherever you get your pods. Brief rundown on some Marvel news before we get into the Acolyte, because while we typically kind of skip the news portion on the podcast these days, this is such big news that we kind of have to cover it. Avengers 5 is going to have not 10, not 20, not 30, 60 potential recurring characters returning for this movie. It's untitled. We don't know what it's going to be yet. It's the prelude to Secret Wars. It was supposed to be Kang Dynasty. Now it's not, but we're going to have all these characters returning. And Sean Levy, the director of Deadpool and Wolverine, rumored to come back for this one as well. Damon, what are your thoughts on Sean Levy? And then let's dive into what do we think this movie is going to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, if Sean Levy, I've been saying that Sean Levy with this Deadpool 3 movie is essentially, this is almost like a test run for any movie going forward with Marvel, with Secret Wars, with whatever, right? It just makes sense with whatever everyone imagines and presumes that this movie will be, with it being a cameo galore and whatnot, and weaving all those little fun things together with an actual serious, emotional thread that Deadpool Wolverine are going to have. You're going to need for a bigger project like that. It's the same way that like Civil War was treated almost like as a test run for whoever does Infinity War, whoever does Endgame. So if this is a good movie, if it's a successful movie, it just makes sense. When it comes to the 60 plus characters that may be making an appearance, I've been saying this since the very beginning when Secret Wars was announced. Is so-and-so's character going to show up? Sure. Why not? At this point, everyone is fair game. We're just having fun with it. So, if Madison with 2 N's and a Y and it's not where you think is going to show up at this point, you know what? Why not? It's a big movie. It's going to be the big movie before Secret Wars comes out. It just makes sense. It's the first Avengers movie since Endgame. Throw everyone in there. Why not? People complain about no connectivity and that there is no ensemble, right? This is it. This is the time.
I do still want my tighter knit unit, like the core group of Avengers in the first one to develop, but I would almost prefer that to be a young Avengers series as opposed to an Avengers movie. But Rachel, what are your thoughts on Sean Levy? And I got to say, Damon, that was much even better than the first time around. That was very well articulated. David, Rachel, what are your thoughts on Sean Levy directing this film?
I think Sean Levy's a great choice. I think he makes really solid movies that are funny and lighthearted while also hard hitting. And I think, like Damon said, I think it's all going to rely on Deadpool and Wolverine. But I trust him after Free Guy and the Atom Project and things like that. And I just think he's a really good choice. But it also comes down to the Raiders too, because he can only work with so much of a script. See, I left my dead dad out of that one.
And now there's no context for it. Now they don't even know the history behind the dead dad joke. You didn't even do your disclaimer this time around that I like to make dead dad jokes. But every time you say that, all I can think of is Nick Miller in New Girl. Dead dad pass. That's what I hear every single time.
It's my energy.
Always
Nick Miller.
But let's transition into what we're really here to talk about, because there's a new show on Disney Plus called The Acolyte, and it's not only exciting because it's new Star Wars content, it's exciting because it's new Star Wars content outside of the bubble that we are so used to seeing. This is not Skywalker Saga. This is not Skywalker Saga adjacent. The Acolyte set 100 years before. We get into a deep dive with myself, Damon, Adam, Thomas Carter, Rochester, TCR from the Reckless Rebellion podcast in our primer for The Acolyte. But now we are going to talk about the episodes itself. They released 2 at once, episodes 1 and 2. Before we even dive into the specifics, Damon, what are your general thoughts? What are you enjoying the first 2 episodes? Has it met your expectations?
Yeah, I'd say it's met my expectations absolutely going into this show. I am a fan of the High Republic, so going into this, knowing that this was going to be a High Republic show, given the end of the High Republic, which is still kind of like an era on its own that we haven't even explored yet in the books and the comics and everything. So there's a little bit of an asterisk there, but as a whole, it still feels like High Republic, and I've been enjoying it so far. And from my experience on social media with those who enjoy the High Republic, which is not the general Star Wars kind of like social media bubble that a lot of other people experience. High Republic Twitter, actually a pretty cool place. That general group also seems to be enjoying it, which is great.
Yeah, there are a lot of tight-knit circles of Star Wars fandoms that are really nice, but there's a lot of loud ones on social media that's not necessarily the case. Rachel, you have been constantly owning them and burning them left, right, and center, and it's a lot to deal with. I don't envy you, but I do respect the way you keep on it going when various trolls throw different things your way. And that's happening a lot with this new show, with the review bombs, with the various things. But I gotta say, for me, it has exceeded expectations, because so much for me, I admit I'm a sucker for nostalgia. And so, I love Ahsoka so much because I get my Rebels characters. I get Ahsoka. I get all my favorites. Even if it was bad, I would have loved it. The Acolyte didn't have that for me. I don't know any of these characters. I have no nostalgia added. But it has exceeded my expectations. How about for you, Rachel?
Before I start, I do want to say, DJ, I loved how you plugged your own thing where you fully could have just been 100 years before the world we know of the prequels. And instead you plugged, so I broke. So if people were watching, I just started laughing. And it was because you could have just said the prequels when you plugged your primer. And I have to respect, I think it's very funny. But
I could tell you when it is, or listen to our 2+ hour episode of breaking down when this takes place.
The last thing we do were the prequels, and you were like, nope, I'm plugging my podcast. But it exceeded my expectations. I know not all, but a bit about the High Republic. I know despite what the little trolls try and say about me, I know a lot about Star Wars. And so I've always wanted to see, not just read and explore that way. I've always wanted to see what the Jedi were like when they were at their golden era. And I know this is teetering towards the end of the golden era of the Jedi, but I really just wanted to live in that time where it was the Jedi were hopeful and still had the like things were not what they are in the prequels for them. And so I really love that they're still disasters and so bad at things. Like everything would be so much easier if they like didn't have 20 protocols to like get one answer. And like I just really love all of that. I love that Yord is such a himbo. Like they're like all these little things I just really love about this show. But it still feels very Star Wars, like not even just like the wipe edits, like I like the twin teams and like all of these things just feel Star Wars, even though like we're not seeing a single character that we've known. And I think that's really cool. I like it a lot.
I wrote that in my review as well, that it feels brand new and fresh, but still so wildly Star Wars. It feels so familiar, even though the characters are completely new, the stories are completely new. I couldn't agree more with that. I love the characters. I love the story we've got so far. The murder mystery style of storytelling, I just love. Like I adore a mystery, and I like a murder mystery even more. So the fact that it's going on the surface, it's kind of murder mystery for our characters, even though we see what's going on. But there's more to it with what actually happened to our main characters. And so it's kind of twofold. I like it a lot. And in terms of the Jedi Order's ineptitude, I kind of think it's like the way I view this group, I think it's perfect because the Jedi Order in Phantom Menace, they're just the worst and beyond. Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, they're just the worst throughout the Clone Wars. Here, we get shades of it, but we also still see they're in power. They know what they're doing. It feels like no matter how great a political party is, if you only have two, like the United States, like basically Canada, because we only have three, but the third one never gets voted in. If someone's in power for a really long time, no matter how great they are at the beginning, they're just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse if there's no reason for them to get better. That's almost what the Jedi Order feels like at this point. They've just been stuck in their ways for so long, and now the cracks are really starting to come in. We need to adapt as opposed to keep doing what we've always been doing, and it's really not working anymore. And that's kind of the vibes I'm getting here. But Rachel, I want to throw this one to you first because there's a character in this show that was not a part of the marketing whatsoever. We knew Amandla Stenberg was going to be the lead. We knew that their character was going to be May, an acolyte of the dark side, but we had no idea OSHA, making sure that we got a safe workplace environment, was going to be a part of this series. Why do you think OSHA was not a part of the marketing?
Well, there's these things in our world called spoilers and tricks and twists. And I think the idea prior to like literally the press tour, where the press tour was like, Amandla kept being like, hi, I'm playing two different characters. And so it was like, oh, well, they were all trying to keep it a little bit of a secret. And then it kind of seemed pointless because you couldn't really talk about the show without talking about the fact that they're twins. But I think it was just trying to hide that little aspect, not only for the twist of it, because for a brief, I didn't know they were twins. And for when I watched my screeners, I thought that OSHA had dreamt killing Indara. Like I thought that was like a dream that she had, and then I watched watched the rest of it and was like, oh, just kidding. And then looked online, and everyone else knew that Amandla was playing twins. I was the lone person who had no idea. But I think it was just to leave that kind of mystery alive before going in. But also, twins are so very Star Wars that I think they were like, ooh, let's like try and keep this as like back as we can, so then people realize that it's like, okay, this theme that exists later on with, you know, Luke and Leia in the original trilogy, Jaina and Jason in the EU, and now with them is like a whole thing. And I think that was like their thinking, maybe, but it didn't work. But I do like that they attempted to hide it. Worked for me, the person who watched it early anyway.
We were sitting there like theorizing on the shows before then of like, she's apparently playing two characters. Will it be twins? It's probably going to be twins. And Damon, that is what has happened. Why do you think they kept it hidden? Do you like the choice? As Shadow makes a cameo on my screen, you get to see his ass. That's why you're watching on YouTube. That's what you get. That's why you're watching us instead of listening to us. You get to see my cat's asshole. Damon, what did you think of the decision?
What a throw to me. I thought
Oh my god, Shadow.
I I thought this was actually a really solid decision because it's the fun of it all. You know, you kind of go in and you're like, ooh, what's going on? It's a mystery. And that's what the High Republic is for the Jedi, is they are more or less detectives most of the time. And that's what this is ending up being, is like a detective story. So it makes total sense that it was intended to be a mystery, because if going into it, that's almost like the whole reveal of the first episode. So if you knew that, the first episode just kind of like, we know where this is going. Let's get to the second. So I enjoyed that. I actually didn't see that coming because I intentionally stay away from trailers and interviews until the show comes out. So I like that little twist personally.
I thought it fit really well with the fact that this show is a mystery, right? It fits with the themes, and so why not throw that into the marketing as well? It gives you, even though it's not like a big twist at the end of an episode, you get it right at the beginning. It's not like we have to wait for it, but it throws you on edge right off the bat. You go, everything is not what I thought it was, and you're immediately second guessing everything going into the murder mystery, which I think is a really great way of going about things. Rachel, you brought up that you thought this was a dream initially, but Master Indara, Jedi Master Indara, was somebody who was very prevalent in the marketing and essentially got the morph from X-Men the Animated Series treatment, where this character is created to die in the first episode, create some stakes. Morph obviously ended up coming back, but she was gone. She kicked some ass. She looked really cool, and then all of a sudden she was gone. That one threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, it makes sense to me, because it was like, you have Carrie-Anne Moss doing the Trinity thing. If you have that for too much, people are going to be like, she's just doing the Trinity thing. Like, this isn't cool. But to have her on there, do it for that one fight sequence and then be gone, it's like, but wait, I want more. Like, I saw her like do the like moves like Trinity does in the Matrix. I love it so much, and it like doesn't become overdone. So I think in theory it's a smart move, but in like actuality, I didn't think she would die within like 2 minutes. I think you know Candace, TJ, and so do you, Damon. Candace, I guess, texted Arzu and was like, don't bring a knife to a lightsaber fight, and then 2 seconds later was like, never mind. Sorry, like, never mind. I guess May knew. But yeah, it was shocking, but it makes sense.
There was something with that specifically that I want to come back to when we get to the end of this episode, talking about the last thing, because I think there was something very prevalent with how she won that fight. But I actually thought the knife stuff was super cool, with the way she was using the Force to like basically throw Naruto shurikens around. Like, I thought it was pretty awesome. Damon, what did you think of the fight? Did you did expect her to die?
I did. When you get a big actress like that and you use her in the marketing a lot, and the only thing I see in her in the marketing is a fight. I mean, I said I didn't watch trailers, but I watched the first one. So I was just kind of like, I remember Adam kept saying how excited he was for this character. And I think the first thing I said was, I don't know, man. I wouldn't get too attached.
Oh my god.
And sure enough, you know, sometimes I'm right about some things. Not a lot, but I'm right about some things. I thought the fight sequence itself was really well choreographed, really well done, especially for it being essentially, like you said, Rachel, lightsabers versus knives, daggers with the Force, right? Like, for a very physical fight in Star Wars, which we really don't get too much like hand-to-hand combat in Star Wars. I thought this was really well done. And then, yes, of course, you get the lightsaber flair to it, which is what I'm here for Star Wars for. I love the lightsabers. I love the Jedi stuff. That's what I'm here for. That's would I enjoy the most out of it. So that fight sequence I thought was really well done. It was quick, it was snappy. I got the result I was expecting, but it was still a very cool finale to it with how May was able to use the Force to, trick the Jedi. Which once when you saw like kind of like what she was like doing like in that sequence, you're like, I could see this, we could see like a little trickery do here because this is what Jedi do, and it worked against her.
And Indara seemed like she knew it too. It was literally like, I got, but I have to save this man. I can't let this man die, but I know that there's going to be one coming for me. And so it was literally just like a kind of situation for Indara there. And I thought it was really well done. A lot of swearing this episode, but I'm here for it. That's what happens when you're on take 2 and you start with immediate anger and frustration from wasting 20 minutes. But we get a really interesting start that sets the stakes. We get the twins aspect, Rachel, that you mentioned is very common to Star Wars, but we get a different vein than we see it. It's still, it's Parent Trap. They're separated at birth, but this time one is raised in the light, the other is raised in the dark. But before we get talking even about more about the main characters, I want to touch on each of the supporting characters. And the one, first off, we obviously have to touch on is the one who has set the internet ablaze, the Yord Horde Jedi Knight Yord. Why, Rachel? To explain to me the science behind why this man is now the most popular man in television.
He's a himbo. He steamed his robe. He literally was like, I have to look fresh. Let me get my steamer out. I don't even do that. I'm on camera and I don't even steam my clothes. But Yord had to steam his robes. Yord Horde. Like when I say Yord, you say Horde. Yord.
Horde.
Yord.
Horde.
There you go.
Damon, look, I saw firsthand when people did not say hi Barbie back to Rachel when she said hi Barbie to them at New York, and she got pissed.
I was there too. Don't you worry about it.
When she chants, you need to respond.
I did. Don't you worry.
Dressed like Barbie, and they were like, now when I say a Yord, I'm gonna yell Yord, and they better say Horde back at me. Yeah, he's a himbo. I think it started with him like seemingly having something with Osha, and they're being a little like while he's trying to be a big old bad Jedi. First of all, he's Jedi Knight. He's not even a Jedi Master. Like, relax, Yord. And then he steamed his robes. And then on the second episode, what really like just made him have my heart is in the second episode where he comes up with this almost swore, really. I almost said the
Let it free. Let it free.
When he literally he made the most like elaborate ass plan to like try and like go in and see Quaimar and be like, here's how we get information. And then Jackie just goes, yeah, or we could just send her in. They look alike. And he looks so defeated. He's like his Padawan, or sorry, Soul's Padawan, but a Padawan did it before he ever did. And I'm just like, he's so stupid. This is the stupidest man on the planet. But I love him. And so that's why I'm a Yord Horde member. I tweeted, they say there is what's the lyric? I can't remember it now. Where it's like, they say there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Yord. We're all losing our minds.
I legitimately didn't know where you were going with that, and I hate myself for it.
I don't know if you guys know Tommy, but Tommy cannot stop Yord. He put Yord Fiesta, aka like a Ford Fiesta. He's like put boats with Yord's face on it. Like, we've all just hit a point of either combating like gross racist dudes who pretend they know Star Wars and they don't, with just Yord memes. And I personally would rather be on the Yord side of the internet because I think that's way more fun.
Can I just say, this is the most High Republic thing I've ever seen in my life. This is literally what the fandom is like, but for a sentient rock character. Yeah. Geode. Its name is Geode. It's a rock. and it's
That
sentient.
giant ass rock.
And that's the character. This is why this is why I love High Republic fandom, is because everyone gets excited for characters like this and they just embrace it.
I love him. He's so dumb. The steaming is just
But
like
he's such a
the
try
political.
hard. But he's such a
Yeah,
try hard at the same time.
Yeah, but it's the
This
steaming. Or like a woman almost died, and he's like, "Here's your handcuffs. Let her breathe for 2 seconds."
this
Also,
tweet
listen
didn't
to
go
Soul.
viral by any means, but I am so proud of it. Like, this is one of my most proud tweets I've ever had. And if you haven't seen Legend of Korra, you won't understand the reference. But Yord is if you just combine Mako and Bolin, and you put those two brothers together into one, and that is Yord. He's the himbo, goofy, silly, stupid, funny aspect of Bolin, but he's the cop aspect of Mako. He's the jealous with the girls type that Mako is. He's these two guys together, and I think it's just an absolutely perfect portrayal to throw on a screen and just have everybody go wild about. These are some of the tweets that Yorda Wiz Yord Yordi with Yord. This is why you got to watch us on YouTube. I'm screen sharing our friend Tommy Stella's Twitter. Damon, this is your reminder. We've talked about it once, but I never got back to you about it. We're supposed to have him on the Comic Corner because he is an independent comic creator.
I've now upgraded him. If you scroll far enough, you'll see he said I upgraded him from creative to comic book writer.
Yord Mustang, like just all of these different. That
one's my favorite. The Ouija
take your
board.
Ouija Yord. Take your Ouija Yord out of my house. Some really great stuff, and so the Yord Horde is real, and he has taken the internet by storm. I love. What's up?
Here's my thing. I was thinking about this because we love a himbo in Star Wars. I said this, I wrote about it, but I said this. Luke Skywalker, not a himbo, but a drama queen. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Yord is a mix of the himbo and the drama queens because Luke is the drama queen side of things. And then like Din Djarin is the himbos because that man doesn't know how to function. Like he took his helmet off and was like, to turn his entire body like he was in his armor still. And I just think that Yord is the perfect middle ground of the drama queens and the himbos, because the drama queens steam their robes, and then the himbos just use their 2 brain cells until they've run out of ideas. And so he is somewhere in the middle of those two.
I think Yord wishes he could be Ezra Bridger. That's what I think.
Ezra's too smart.
Ezra's too, but like he wants, that's who he wants to emulate. You know, he sees Ezra and he's like, damn. I mean, obviously they don't know each other, but he sees Ezra and he's like, damn.
He looks into the future.
If they were in high school,
yeah, that's what the world between worlds is.
If they were in high school, Yord would want to be Ezra's friend so bad. He'd be like trying to, like, hey bro, I'm having a party tonight. Like, you gotta come. You gotta bring the crew.
You know who Yord is?
Their relationship.
Yord is like he would be the guy who steams Mysterio's costume from Spider-Man.
One of my favorite parts of that, I don't remember what her name is, but one of my favorite parts is throughout. I
think
that
it's like
Mysterio.
Deborah. I don't know.
Mysterio is just like
Leah knows better.
He's like, I will fucking kill you if you don't get this right. We don't have time for mistakes. Deborah, yes, thank you so much. No creases in the cape, please. No creases in the cape, Deborah. And it just like switches on a moment's notice, and it's incredible. But coming back to the Acolyte, one of the things I love so much about the dynamic of Yord, and then the next 2 characters we'll talk about, Jeki and Soul, is it's just such heavy Clone Wars vibes. This is Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka hanging out, bantering. You got the Jedi Master who's like, what did they do? Again? Come on. And then you have the 2 younger ones just absolutely bickering. It's such a similar dynamic. Jackie is one of my favorite characters in this series. I love the Padawan who is too damn skilled to be a Padawan, and we haven't seen Jackie fight yet, but as a strategist and as someone who has no issue calling Yord out on his bullshit, I think she is one of the most awesome characters we get in this show. What do you think, Rachel?
Yord, put some clothes on. No, I love it. I love that essentially everyone has admitted that, or everyone being Leslie, that she just wanted X-23 and stuff. They just made Jackie and got Daphne Keene. I love her a lot. She is so funny in how she kind of like is a know-it-all, because it can be grating when you have a know-it-all character. And like, I know I can say that as a know-it-all, that sometimes we come across as like grading people, even though it is we just know what we're talking about. But I love that the way she tells people that she knows what she's doing, which is just so dry. Like, she does not deliver her better plan to Yord in a way that is nice. She delivers it in a like, no, that's dumb. Actually, she just looks like Meg. She can just go and do it. And I love her. And I just want to see so much more of her. I think she's so funny.
And it makes it even better too when you get the dynamic between Soul, Jackie, Yord, and her, because Soul just puts Osha up on this pedestal. Like, she could do no wrong. You are my baby, you are my child. This is Mando to Grogu. Like, I love you unconditionally. And then Jackie, it's almost like, even though she came after, it's almost like the older sibling of like, no, I expect a lot out of you, and you're gonna do it properly because that's you. You're responsible. And then there's Yord, where it's like, what the fuck are you doing, Yord? Get out of the dryer. Why is your head in the dryer, Yord? Like, that's the kind of thing that is going on with him. But I just so enjoy the dynamic between all of them and the entire group. Damon, what are your thoughts on Jackie? And then lead us into Master Soul, because Lee Jung Jae's performance, learning English for this role, and kind of, we don't know the whole story of what these Jedi did on that planet to Osha and May yet, but at least as of now, Soul really looking like the embodiment of what a Jedi should be.
Yeah, Soul gives a lot of Qui-Gon Jinn, but let's go back to Jackie real quick, because the thing I like about Jackie is I'm a sucker for characters who are always right, but no one fucking listens to them. And then they just sit there and they're just like, cool, you know? Like, you just see everyone around you just making terrible choices or making mistakes, and you're just like, how about we do this? And they're like, how about no? And you're like, cool. Let's see how this other plan goes. Oh, it failed. Wow. I for one, I'm stunned. So I'm a sucker for a character like that. So I really enjoyed Jackie already, but Master Soul is immediately likable. If you like a Qui-Gon Jinn character who he said he kind of modeled himself after Qui-Gon, right? And you can see it a bit. I think he's a mix of Qui-Gon with how he portrays himself, but almost like the affection of Yoda to an extent, where Yoda can be very affectionate and compassionate, I think is the more correct word, especially to Osha. But like, it's just such an amazing performance, and the fact that this is his first, I believe, right? This is his first English speaking performance is absolutely remarkable. The amount of emotion he's able to portray already, right? In his first English speaking performance just shows how good and incredible of an actor that he is. So, like, full round of applause to him, because Master Soul is already one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I'd say like even a top 10. And I've had him for like 2 episodes. Just because I'm a sucker too for that compassionate, likable. You kind of just want to give him a hug, because he's like, we mentioned Avatar: Last Airbender before, and everyone knows I'm an Avatar: Last Airbender fan. He's giving General Iroh, right?
Yeah.
And he has those little remarks, those Qui-Gon Jinn-isms, those Iroh-isms, he has those too. He has the wisdom. So you listen to him when he speaks. So that is a great addition, because you kind of need it with like a ragtag bunch like this, when you have a Yord who is both like trying too hard but doing a terrible job at it, or Jackie who's not really trying at all, but she knows what she's doing and will just kind of like give you the side eye. And then Osha, who's just kind of like thrown into this and trying to figure out what the hell is going on around her, right? So you need that Master Soul who will look at the Jedi Order and they're like, and he's like, looking around and be like, yeah, Jedi are getting murdered. We need to investigate this, right? And they're all like, how about we sit in our cushy chairs and discuss this instead? And he's just saying, no, that's stupid.
Rachel, what do you think of Soul as a character, and also the dynamic between all these masters with their Padawans? Because Soul and Jackie, it's like almost like peers, borderline peers, except for how she approaches him. He approaches her as a peer, and she's Master, may I speak freely? Master, may I speak freely?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Osha, who it's almost like Anakin Ahsoka vibes of she left the Jedi Order. We still don't know why. She says it was on her own volition, but we don't know the entire story. And he just wants to protect her at all costs. And then there's Yord, who didn't even bring his Padawan on the mission. She's introduced, and then he said, see the fuck later. I'm going with this crew. Have some fun. This isn't the Clone Wars where all the Jedi are spread out, putting out fires across the galaxy. He literally said, stay in your room at home, play some video games, chill, meditate till I get back. What are your thoughts on these dynamics?
Well, yeah, your straight up was like, I want to go see my friends, but I'm gonna thank you for that. I get to talk about my favorite meme I saw. Unsurprisingly, it was Parks and Rec meet Star Wars, and someone did the scene where Mona Lisa Saperstein is like, I have never done anything wrong in my life, and her father, Dr. Saperstein, says, I know that and I love you, and they put Osha's face on Mona Lisa Saperstein and Master Soul's face over Dr. Saperstein, and I was like, yeah, this is for me. And it's also very true. She literally is like, I didn't do it. And he's like, I know. And then the rest of the Jedi, which I made fun of earlier, but they're like, hey, like, she's maybe still a murderer. And he's like, she's fine. I believe her. They're all like, okay, if you say so. And I do love that dynamic that they all kind of have this respect. Even Yord, who is a Jedi Knight, so he at least has a little bit more say in what's going on around all of these people he's with. But even he is like, well, Master Soul said it's cool, and so I'm just gonna go with it. And Jackie, who you said, they more of like a peer relationship. You can tell that she's a little like, okay, but she also figures everything out 20 minutes before everybody else, because Soul is like, her sister died, I saw it, and she's like, you sure about that? And he was like, yep. And then her face is like,
and then Osha's
okay.
like, my sister's alive. And he's like, your sister is alive.
And Jackie was like, guess I'm not important enough. I didn't say that 20 minutes ago. But yeah, I like that the dynamic is still everyone respects Master Soul. They wait till he talks to the Jedi Council, or he talks to Vanestra, or whatever it is. But that everyone else, and by everyone else I mean like Osha and Jackie are the two smartest people on this journey, because like Osha, I think, has a heightened intelligence that maybe the two guys don't. And she's just like, yay, man, my sister's alive. I saw my sister. And Jackie is just Jackie. Jackie knows all.
One of the things that I love about this series so far is, even just through 2 episodes, they take all these things that are so familiar to Star Wars and make them brand new. We see that with, I feel like Osha is basically so much, if you just take Ahsoka and Sabine, and if they had a baby, and this is Osha. And you get the aspect of leaving the Jedi Order, very much a loner, but with a strong moral compass like Ahsoka. And then you get the tech aspect, not strong with the Force aspect of Sabine. Just these different pieces of their characters, not major mashups, but different pieces. You get the twins separated at birth, like Luke and Leia, but this time it's dark and light. You get a dyad in the Force with Kylo Ren and Rey, and now it seems like that's what we get here as well, but as twins, a dyad in the Force, because May and Osha, the first time they see each other since their childhood, is in their visions, and it looks so similarly to how Kylo and Rey's does, where they are transported to another planet where they're having these conversations. Damon, are May and Osha a dyad in the Force?
I would put a lot of money on that to be absolutely the case. Everything about it screams dyad, and if you introduce something that you kind of want to, I don't want to say add on to Star Wars lore, this is the place to do it, right? So it just makes complete sense that they are a dyad in Force. It makes way more sense that they're a dyad than Kylo and Rey ever were, because at least these two are twins. So they have, like, that actual connection there, right? So, no.
No,
Go
don't
on.
even get started, because I wanted them to be the twins. And that was why I thought, well, this makes more sense if they are Jaina and Jason. Anyways, sorry. I'll get off my soapbox about the rise of Skywalker.
You're good. No, you're good. So it to me, like, no, so it just made complete sense that if it is a dyad, like, everything about this screams dyad, right? It just visually, contextually is just 1 + 1, sometimes equals 2, and a 2, TJ, is a dyad.
Wow. Incredible stuff there. Rachel, what do you think? Are these two a dyad in the Force?
But wait, when does 1 + 1 not equal 2 is my question. Because Damon said sometimes it doesn't equal 2. So when in your mind does it not equal 2?
You throw some other factors in there, I guess,
When there's a book,
1 and 1, it's 2.
There's a book called 1 + 1 = 3, a masterclass in creative thinking. I Googled it, and that's what came up. Next one. With the Holy Spirit, 1 + 1 = 3.
Keep space for Jesus. Isn't that what they used to tell people at school dances?
Keep space for the Force.
If you can't fit a Bible between you, you're too close.
Anyways, here, this is about the sizes of a Bible. Keep that much space. They're a dyad because they're twins. My twin theory is back from earlier, where I said Star Wars loves a twin, and they love a dyad, which is why Rey and Kylo should have been the twins. I'm sorry, Terelos. I'm sure you guys listen. I get it. I love a ship. I just love Jaina and Jason Solo so much. I was so angry because that would make sense of them being a triad, a dyad.
See, sometimes 1 + 1 does equal 3.
Triad.
So glad I brought that background for you both.
Rachel, what happened to their family? What caused this dyad in the Force? Because you have seen episode 3 and 4. So Damon, what the hell do we think happened to their family? Because I have not seen it either. I love our amazing,
face.
Yeah, as straight as possible. As many as just for one. There we go. Got rid of Rachel for a second. No, we're not gonna keep her gone. But that is
instantly brings out the twisted tea.
Yeah, just quick drink chug.
What was Here, I'll do it with my face. This is all the collection of things on my desk. I'll just do this
there we go.
while you guys do it. Okay, go ahead.
Again, this is why you gotta watch us on YouTube, everybody.
This is what I'll say about what I think happened.
Okay.
Whatever happened on this planet is screaming, I know what you did last summer.
Yeah, it really is big. I know what you did last summer vibes. Where each one by one they're getting picked off because of what they knew about all those years ago. And it's so interesting because we hear from Soul that him and Indara, among this other crew, they rescued Osha from the planet, from a fire that may cause killing their entire family. And then May is going about this thinking like, not only is she alive, but as if the Jedi have seriously wronged her, which we find out pieces more about in the next episode. Spoiler warning for episode 2 as we go in here. The Jedi from the next episode, Corbin, full on just accepts killing himself because of the grief of and trauma of being unable to reconcile what he did. So what the hell happened?
What I think, personally, what I would say was happened is they probably had to make a decision, and they obviously, regret the decision that they've made, right? Dun, dun, dun. So I think they probably made a decision to probably save as many people as they could, and X amount of people died probably in the end. That is my assumption here. If another thing were to be involved, that would be a greater High Republic type of story thread. I doubt it that we're going into greater High Republic stuff with like force eating plant monsters. If that's the case, then play this clip next episode and make fun of me then. But honestly, I just think somebody screwed up and they tried to essentially cover up the tracks. They failed miserably, and in the end, people who they thought were dead are alive, and that happens for both sides because May thought Osha was dead, and that to me was the most surprising thing about that episode.
That May thinking Osha was dead too surprised me, but also I think makes a lot of sense for how she could have got manipulated to the dark side. The Jedi took your family, your whole family is gone, in order to manipulate a little kid into savoring that dark side and that revenge. That to me makes sense as to how she got there. But I agree with you that I think it could be somebody fucked up and they were trying to cover it up. I'm going to need those Jedi cops to wear some body cams and make sure that they are turned on, because I'm thinking it was one of them did something super fucking stupid and then the rest of them were like, shit, I guess we got to cover it up. Or it was a little bit of Last Jedi-esque where they sent some darkness in May, and the Jedi Order said, like, we got to take out this kid.
Can I throw another one? I think they thought something also possibly could have happened, but because of how the Jedi are, and they have to deliberate, we have to discuss things before they happen. We have to come up with the right conclusion. Oh crap, it happens. That would scream very Jedi to me, where it's like they see something happening. They're like, okay, we could see something happening here. Let's discuss and do discourse before and then that thing happens, right? So I think that could be how May would look at the Jedi, because I have to look at it where May's looking at the Jedi and be like, you are the reason. You could have stopped whatever happened to happen. You could have prevented this, and you didn't.
I'm getting the vibe that it's not even they could have prevented it. It's that she thinks they are the cause of whatever happened. Rachel, come on back in. We won't make you hold that Grinch mug up any longer. The last part of the episode is the introduction to the spooky Sith lore. They got the red lightsaber. They're talking about what it means to be an acolyte. And this is where, for the next episode...
Can I do my impression of him?
Absolutely.
Where he's like, an acolyte kills the dream. He's like
that,
and I love him so much.
That is specifically the part I actually want to touch on, because from that speech for the next episode, May seems to get this idea in her head that, like, I need to be killing these Jedi without weapons. And she uses the knives and the poison because, and that's what he says. But I think that is too literal of an interpretation. I don't think that is the actual purpose of the lesson. And I could be wrong. This is just my theory. But my thought process is that he is trying to teach her basically how Palpatine just plucked all of these things and disassembled the Senate and took control out of everything. And I think how Vader teaches the Inquisitors, you need to take out the Jedi. It's, you don't find a Jedi by searching for a Jedi. You find a Jedi by making their compassion come out. and that's how she beat Indara. You know, she
So
didn't
you're
beat Indara
saying-
head to head combat. She beat them by killing the dream, by killing the hope, by trying to throw her dagger right at somebody so that Indara has to save them, and by doing that, she wins. She's not
I
going to
think
win
it's
a head
way
to
more
head.
literal. I think it's way more literal than you're giving it credit for. Because if you think about it, the dream is that the Jedi are this all powerful being, and they use the Force. So if someone who leans to the dark side can kill all of the Jedi without using weapons, it kills the idea of the Jedi and the dream of the Jedi.
Or instilling false hope that the Jedi are false idols. I think there's more symbolism to it. I think it can go both ways, but I think there's more symbolism to it of the ideals of the Jedi is what we have to take down, not just the thousands of human being Jedis.
Yeah, but I
think
would
it's
say
the
the
middle.
four would. Yeah.
I think it's a combination, almost a middle ground between you two. I think it is an ideal, and that is how you're able. When they say kill the dream, it's the Jedi look at themselves as the peacemakers, right? So when we are in a situation now where we have May who's looking at them and they clearly know they did something wrong, they have that guilt in their mind. So killing the dream is almost breaking them mentally, being like, you screwed up your entire mission. And when you show the Jedi as a whole for everyone around you, right? Because we are in a High Republic time, so there are we're in the future, so I won't get into that phase 2 stuff, which is more in the past. When you're looking at the Jedi, they are looked upon as the peacekeepers, not like as police, but like, all like a detective type of thing that I said before. If you can make people look at them and start to distrust them, that is the dream that dies. So it is a little bit of a middle ground. It is literal, but it is a little ideological too.
I like it. I like it. And as we pivot to episode 2 here, I want to actually stay with the dark side for a while and skip ahead in the rundown ahead of this Ocean Soul stuff. We'll go back to that. But I want to talk about Kamir. And again, Rachel, I'll throw it to you first, but if there are things you find out over the course of the next 2 episodes, just say never mind. But who is this man? Because I've seen a lot of interesting theories that one, he is another acolyte. He's the Sith Lord himself, and he's taking a very hands-on approach. I'm just the flunky, but actually I'm the mastermind behind the scenes as well. Who do you think this guy is, and do you like the character? Because Manny Jacinto does a pretty awesome job of portraying I know more than I'm letting on.
Yeah, I love Chimera. I think he is a very fun character. I guess spoiler, you don't learn much more about him in the next 2 episodes. It's more of the same. Like, he's kind of helping May on this quest. But yeah, I think I like him. I think he is an interesting character. I've also seen the theories that he is the Sith. I don't know that I love them. I like the idea of him just being this, like, not a goofball, because he's still good at his job, but he is kind of not as serious about it as he probably could. Like, we've seen other people in that role be. But yeah, I like Chimera a lot. I think he is just someone who you don't quite know what you're getting into with him, and so that could be why people think he is that Sith. But I also like the idea of him just, that's who he is. You never quite know what you're getting, and he just is like, I'm gonna say what I want.
And there's those portions where Ocean and Chimera are having that conversation, Damon, that I found so interesting, that it's like, this guy has to know more than he's letting on, because when Osha walks in, she's pretending to be May, and he's seeming like he's falling for it. It's like, hey, how did it go? What's going on? But then immediately he's able to just turn and, have a quick related, like, who is that? Oh, I thought he was with you, because he notices Yord over his shoulder. He gives up small pieces of information about May's mission, but not who is behind it, not it was clearly, I'm going to give you a little piece of meat so that you leave me alone and don't ask me about what I actually know. That's how I took it. How about you, Dana?
I agree with Rachel. I would not like it if this guy almost has a bigger role than what he is now, because he reminds me more as like a DJ character from The Last Jedi, where he's kind of like a guy who can almost turn on you on a whim. But if he's anything more than that, then I think that kind of puts away like that diminishes who in the mystery of like who the Sith Lord is. I kind of don't want this Sith Lord. I know we'll kind of probably maybe get into that a little bit later. Like I kind of don't want him to be anyone we've met yet. I want this individual to be, if it's not like a lore character that'll get all the longtime fans excited, I want this character to be their own character that has their own story to tell. Like, I don't want them to be this kind of like, oh, he's a sleazy guy and you never really know what he's kind of getting at. Ooh, who knows what's going on? Like, I don't know if I'd like that personally.
I am a little bit of a sucker for when a character is putting on an act for a large period of time, and then when they drop their act, the actor is able to portray a completely different character within that role. That is a trope that I really enjoy, when you just kind of see the face switch of like, oh damn, I've been found out, and then they go into evil sinister mode. But I'm definitely not sold on that theory. I think it's possible for sure, but I'm not sold as it being something that is for sure going to happen. We talked about already like what the Jedi may or may not have done to May and their family a long time ago, as I throw my cat off the desk. But Damon, one of the interesting parts of our primer is you and TCR kept making the joke of like, probably none of this High Republic stuff will matter. Everything they talk about in the books, they're not actually going to be referencing it. It's going to be all new. But we do actually get a little piece of High Republic lore thrown into this one with the Barash Vow. Was this something you remember hearing of with Master Torben? This dude just meditating, taking a Barash Vow, which means he's not going to talk and he's just going to meditate. And it's usually because they fucked up and they're trying to make up for their mistakes. Was that a piece of the lore you were already familiar with? And did you do the Leo pointing meme when you got it?
A little bit. I mean, my High Republic stuff is essentially going is through phase 1. It's like halfway through phase 2, because phase 3 I'm not into yet because there's just so much content and so many books.
This was apparently one of like the very first young adult novels in phase 1.
See, I never read the young adult stuff. I've been reading the mainline stuff. And
he said, "I'm an adult."
I'm not.
That's a lie. Damon is not an adult. He is. He is a dad to his friends when he goes to Disneyland, and he is a child at heart.
I am. You see all? I was gonna say, see all these comic books behind me, but it's dark in this room.
There's a bunch of toys behind you, Damon.
There are a lot.
Literally a bunch. I can't talk, but I'm not the one saying.
Yeah, like you mentioned, there is like a little bit of like High Republic stuff in there. I don't think it's going like maybe like a drop like that or so, but it's not going to get into like the whole force eating plant monsters type of thing. If that's the case, like I mentioned, you guys can play this clip and make fun of me all you want. I just do not think that's the case.
That rock is coming.
If Geode makes an appearance, I am doing a backflip off my roof.
Give me
Geode
just
is
like
coming.
a Jedi Council meeting, and
With
just have
Yord
that
and
rock,
Geode.
and have the rock just sitting on the chair. Have Yord trying to talk to the rock.
No,
Bigger
Yord's
than a
fully
rock. He's a
sitting on
boulder.
Geode. Yeah, Yord is sitting on Geode. Hundo P. Sitting on him, not knowing.
He sits on him, then somebody's like, "Why are you doing that? Is Jedi Master Geode?" And then later he tries to talk to him.
Steam his robes.
Probably, maybe. Sure.
There's never any creases in his clothes. He doesn't have to. Soul is such a major part of this episode in two different fashions, because one, we get the Osha and Soul reconnecting at the beginning of it, and that's actually where I got the most Ahsoka vibes, because of almost the way Soul interacted with her, of her saying like, "Yeah, I left, I wasn't cut up to be a Jedi," and him saying like, "No, we failed you. You didn't fail us. We failed you. What was your takeaway from that that interaction between the two of them? Because like it's so interesting to see. You see he's got a clear love for her. This goes far beyond Master and Padawan.
Who you want to answer
I
that?
said Rachel. I said it on that time.
You didn't. You did not say my name. I think Soul is a lot more trusting in this entire episode of OSHA, and then I think he like realizes a lot of his own issues that he's done in the past, even though we don't know like the full extent of what they are at this point. But I do think him, like the way he's interacting with am I boring you, TJ?
TJ muted himself, by the way. TJ,
I had to
muted
take a
yourself.
picture of my cat because he is hiding behind the blinds, just sticking his face through them right now. So another reason you gotta watch us on YouTube. But I couldn't not take this picture because he's hilarious.
Just completely
Like,
off
am
the rails
I
at this point.
boring you? Mid-sentence, you're like,
It's not my fault.
yeah.
Cat is hilarious.
I just think that this episode, I mean, the short of it is that Soul is trusting of not only OSHA, but like his interaction that he does have with May is one that is like a man who recognizes when he was wrong about something. And I think that's very interesting of him as a character because the Jedi don't do that. But he does. And so I think it's all very indicative to who Soul is in like brief little moments.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit. I think that makes a lot of sense. And it carries into his fight with May. He wants to be the one to confront her because he feels as though he has failed her, showing us there's more to this story we don't know, even from the respectable Master Soul, even from the guy that we're growing to love. There's something in there that's saying he has fucked up in the past. Their fight reminded me a lot of a kind of opposite version of Reva versus Vader, where Reva's fighting him with everything he has, and Vader's just not even pulling out his lightsaber. He's just using the Force with his hand to avoid her and put her in positions. That's kind of felt like how overmatched May was trying to fight Soul. He's just like, I'm good. Hey, how about we talk? Let's not fight. Let's talk. What did you think about that action sequence? Rachel Still.
I was like, Damon, he did not say my name.
I didn't that
Shadow
time.
knew.
You caught me there. I did it the first time. I stand by that. We will check the tape. This time, I did not.
Can't wait to be
I
right.
like to go snake order, two, like one, right back and forth like that.
Yeah, I agree. It does have it has the same quality of Reva and Vader because the person on the other end, at least in this case, Soul knows what he did. Vader in the Reva Vader match did not know that that's who Reva was. And so I think this is way more like emotional. I'm emotionally invested in both of these, but with this one, I'm like, well, that man knows what he did, but also he's stopping her at every move. But I also don't think that OSHA. Let me correct myself. I think that OSHA in the beginning was putting her full strength into it, but then the minute he was like, or not OSHA, the minute that May was putting her full strength in it, and then the minute she found out that OSHA was alive, it was like a switch, and it was like all of her fight was not where it should be. And so he was like really not even trying at that point. Just because it's like, oh, she's not even trying because she is trying to see if I'm telling the truth or if I'm lying to her. Which hilarious. He's a Jedi. He's not lying to you, girl. But yeah, I do love that he just like literally grabs her foot and is like, nope. And then just like does this and moves her away again.
I just remembered my one qualm with this show, and it's somewhat of what you just said. It was a Yord thing. I told TJ this already, and it's only because this is my only qualm. Yord at the very beginning uses like the Force Mind thing to be like, I know where OSHA is. But then he doesn't use that on OSHA to be like, oh yeah, you totally didn't kill the Jedi Master.
I'll give you two things here. One, because Osha is was trained as Jedi Padawan, so she would have been able to resist it. 2, Yor's an idiot. So even if that was like a 1-for-1 and he would have been able to, but he just didn't. I would buy. He just didn't think of it in the next situation, even if she couldn't resist him.
Yeah, I think it is fully that she is trained, but also I think that boy got a crush on her. So I think he's like, I don't wanna. I don't wanna go to her mind. Maybe I'll just think she murdered somebody.
What did you think of the action fight between May and Soul Damon, and then lead us into May and Osha meeting for the first time as well? Because I think there is no way with that little stun gun that either Osha's the worst Jedi in the history of Jedi, or she was actively missing on purpose.
A little bit of both. A little bit of both, honestly, on that ladder, because we've seen that she's, like we saw with Sabine and Ahsoka, she struggles with the Force. So, maybe.
But that was stormtrooper level shooting.
It was. It wasn't not a great shot. Like, I saw the Dallas Mavericks have better shots today, and they had a horrible first half. So it wasn't amazing. On to the Soul fight. I was worried a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I know that we were kind of seeing Soul just kind of like handle it and take away daggers and stuff, but like there's a little bit of me that has a little bit of Qui-Gon trauma where you see like this master take on a situation and I'm like, I know how Qui-Gon ended. I know that there's like a little bit of resemblance here. I don't like where this could potentially be going. So I was worried for a little bit. I'm glad he at least made it through this episode, because if we lost Master Soul by the end of episode 2, I would have been absolutely distraught by the end. So I'm glad that wasn't the case. So back to the worst shot in, the history of Star Wars, at least pre-Stormtrooper era. Okay, you know what? Fine. I'll admit it. It was a bad shot. Did she intentionally miss? Yeah, probably. This is the first time she's seen her sister in how many years? It's been a while at least. So there's probably that in the back of her mind.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense as well. Since you have likely seen their next interaction, Rachel, I won't ask you about that one. But before I throw the final topic to you, one point we forgot to touch on that I do think is hilarious is just how Master Torben, in the time from when he was a Padawan to now he's taking his oath, he's meditating for the past 10 years. This dude is clearly keeping something inside that is eating him up, because he had like Nate from Ted Lasso level of just aging in that time, where he went from a dude with a nice hairline and a braid and a soft face to just like the most pulled back hairline. Guy was looking rough at the time that he was meditating. But someone that, Rachel, I know you don't think is looking rough, because again, that's why you watch us on YouTube. I can screen share. Can I say something without people getting mad? Rachel, are you crushing on the Wookiee?
Do you not know who my favorite Star Wars character is?
I do.
It's Pip, isn't it?
Is it? No, Chewbacca. Chewie is my favorite. And I say that and people think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. Chewie is my favorite Star Wars character. There's a video of me seeing Chewie in Galaxy's Edge and almost knocking children over, because I was like, this is me.
What was your reaction like in the theater when Rey force lightning the ship that we thought Chewie was in?
Listen, don't even get me started, because I was sobbing. And then fucking J.J. Abrams played it for jokes because Chewie was fine. And then all those people were crying over Chewie. And we all were like, ha ha ha, he's alive. And I was like, I thought my boy was dead for a full 2 minutes. And you think I'm laughing? Chewie was almost dead. I'm still mad about it. If they would have just switched the scenes and then they had that heartfelt thing and then we found out, would have been so great. But he said, oh, funny. It's not funny. Anyways, Kalnaka hot, because he's naked, which I know that's what like Chewie looked like, but all the pictures we've seen of Kalnaka, he's wearing like robes and stuff. He's been wearing his Jedi robes. in like all of the images we've seen of him. And then in this, he's like butt ass naked in his fur, and he breaks a gun. He's like, oh, love him. Tall, beautiful. Fun fact: the reason Leslie walked on stage with Kalnaka at Star Wars Celebration was because she texted me and said, "Is it lame if I walk out with a Wookiee?" And I was like, "You're asking the wrong girl," because I would do it if I had the chance. And then she walked out with Kalnaka.
That's a perfect way to close out the episode because you are friends with the showrunner of this show, Leslie Headland. How? Why? Where did that come about? Was this a interview that went really well, or are you BFFs for life?
It's so much worse. So I used to do her monologues in college. I love her plays, and I used to like change her play into a monologue to fit what I was doing and stuff like that. And my one friend did not know this, and I was tweeting a lot about Chris Pine, and this was when Leslie was on Twitter, and Leslie was like tweeting about Chris Pine, and my friend who followed Leslie was like, "Oh my god, you should meet my friend Rachel." And she added me and she followed me, and I had to tell my friend, like, "You don't understand what you did. Her movies and her plays are like my favorite things on this planet." And so then I think it was like something happened on the internet, and she was like, "I'm not really online. Here's my number." And then we went and got coffee one day, and literally, like, she called me her Padawan the other day. Like, she like will read my scripts if I send them to her, and like she just like helps me with writing and stuff. But it all started because I was talking about Chris Pine, and my friend was like, "You would like Rachel." And so worse than an interview going really well, I would say.
Not even like one of your more obscure Twitter stories with just like the Chris Evans. "Oh, Rachel, I love Rachel," just because he knows you from Twitter. Just absolutely wild stuff. But where can the people find you on socials? Are you doing any other podcasts right now? Where are you doing all your writing? Let them know where they can find your stuff.
Well, they can find me on Twitter at Rachel Leishman. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Rachel_Leishman. You can listen to me on Cinema Sibs, which is part of Agents of Fandom. You can hear me on Pedro Pascal, a Pedro Pascal podcast. I'm writing at the Mary Sue, and I do write Collider. I'm sure I'm missing something, but whatever.
Damon, how about you? Where can the people find you on socials, and what do you have cooking up at the Comic Corner over the next couple weeks?
Yes. Everywhere. You can find me on Twitter at Damon Tweet or the Comic Corner at Comic Corner Pod handle. If you want to follow me at Damon Tweet, expect a lot of sports, expect a lot of WNBA, expect a lot of cricket recently because the Cricket World Cup is going on right now, and Team USA just beat Pakistan, which is like one of the biggest sports upsets in recent history, which is incredible. You can find us on the
That's
Comic Corner.
borderline the equivalent of just like for our Americans listening, of like if Pakistan just beat USA at basketball. It's pretty darn close.
Absolutely crazy upset that happened here in the U.S., which is really cool. So the Cricket World Cup T20 is happening in the U.S. On the comic books, though, we have a weekly show here on the Agents of Fandom YouTube channel and Agents of Fandom podcast feed. That is the Comic Corner Pod. Is myself, AF, and Fat Thor, and we talk comics. And this week we had a bunch of new comics. We had the Ultimates, we had a Boom Studios new detective book, and we have so much more. So if you like comics, if you're new to comics and you just want to like a nice comfortable space to come on in and kind of learn about the space, that's what we're all about, is just bringing people in because it's a big scary space comic books can be because you don't know where to start. We're here to help you out and to make it nice and fun as it should be, and no one's yelling, which is always the best part as well. And you can find our reviews also on the Agents of Fandom website.
As Adam says, check the website every day because we have so much great like episodic content dropping right now with recaps and reviews of The Acolyte, soon coming The Boys, The Bear, House of the Dragon, Rings of Power. I'm doing My Adventures of Superman right now. Adam's got Dark Matter on Apple TV Plus. Check out My Adventures with Superman if you haven't. It is just such a brilliant television show. And keep your eyes peeled to the Agents of Fandom YouTube and podcast feeds because, like Damon said, Comic Corner is now weekly. It's no longer bi-weekly. We have the House of the Dragon after show coming with Fat Thor, Caesar and Zen from the Listen 3000 show, and various rotating Agents of Fandom guests on there as well. Plus, Adam and Ryan just interviewed John Paisano, the man who did the score for the Maze Runner movies, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, so much more. The Spider-Man games, the Insomniac Spider-Man games, Daredevil TV show, and so much more. And then, of course, Adam's House of the Dragon interviews are on there as well. We will be back next week with Arzu Amin, Rachel's close friend, my fellow Canadian, Adam's co-worker in the news section over at Collider. We got a bunch of different paths converging here. Arzu was a wonderful guest last time we had her on for Bad Batch, so we had to bring her back on to talk some Acolyte. And then the week after that, we got Jamie Dirac, co-host of Phase Zero, and from comicbook.com joining us. So lots of great guests in the wings. So make sure you tune in, subscribe wherever you get your pods. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. On behalf of myself, Damon, Rachel, all the agents behind the scenes, we will see you next week. Peace out.